All right. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 8:30. We'll do roll call. John Ozen.
Yes.
Richard Seisha. David Larson.
Yes.
And Mr. Orsh is absent, and I'm present as well. We are also going to do a joint meeting with the law enforcement. And Schreiner,
Yep.
would you like to
Call the meeting to order and the law enforcement committee. When we're done here, law enforcement will be reconvening at 9:30 in the back room.
Okay. Yep. Technically 4. Dan, Doc.
Oh,
Doc's, he's on law enforcement, right? You're on law enforcement?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. Nope, there's 3, so there's still a quorum.
Casey, Ron, and
Okay. All right, certified open minutes required?
yes.
Okay. Verified. All right, item number 3, adopting of the agenda. So moved by Mr. Ozen, seconded by Mr. Seisha. Any comments or concerns? Seeing none? Well, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. All right. Item 4, adopting the minutes of the previous meeting.
Move to approve.
Moved to approve by Mr. Seisha, second by Mr. Larson. Any comments, any concerns on that from last month? Seeing none. All those favors signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? None. Motion carries. All right. Item number 5, public comment. Members of the public have 15 minutes to block of time to comment on today's agenda items. Members of the public must be present beginning of the meeting or comment period will be waived. Public comment period may be extended on the decision of the chair or the advisement of the committee of the finance committee. You can call in at 715-538-1770. I'll repeat it one more time, 715-538-1770. All right, item number 6, the joint meeting with law enforcement regarding radio tower project resolutions. Sheriff?
Okay, so this is a follow-up from last month's meeting, and I brought to, you have in front of you two drafts of 4 resolutions in each draft. This has to do with upgrading our radio project, or our radio system, due to its end of life and a number of issues we've been experiencing. We've had BACOM do a couple of presentations to both this committee and to law enforcement, and I believe even County Board earlier this year, before the change, has seen this. This is kind of a culmination of everything we've done since our first presentation back in February. So as I stated a month ago, I proposed, or BACOM proposed 4 different options. One being to upgrade our current system to get it operational. The next being to upgrade the system and then add some redundancy so that we don't have dead-end loops. A third option being to upgrade the system, add the redundancy, and then perhaps add a tower to a location in this county that right now there's not hardly any coverage at all. And then the fourth option was to do all those 3 things plus create a second control tower in the event that we had an issue at the first control tower. So that's what these 4 resolutions address. The top one being the minimum, the back one being the maximum upgrade with all of the features included. minimum cost for just to upgrade the current system, you'll see is $1,138,962.20. And then the last one, which included in closing the loops, adding the tower to the low coverage area, and to create that second tower, total cost for the project would be $2,097,748.62. The resolutions were drawn in 2 copies, one as if to pull from general fund, the other as if to pull from ARPA funds, because those are the 2 options that have been given to me by this body, and therefore the resolutions are created to reflect that. I have representatives of BACOM here today, again, to answer questions if this committee had any questions, and I guess I'll open it to questions with that.
Any questions?
Yes. Correct. So just the only point I would add on to that is on that high figure, we're using a kind of a worst case scenario, having to build the tallest possible tower in Pigeon Falls. So that, we would anticipate we probably won't have to do that, but we're just giving you the bad news now. That you could end up leasing a tower, and it's gonna be at one of these lower figures, and you'll just have a monthly lease figure. That would be the next step to determine what's the best path for the county. Is it more financially prudent to build your own tower?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, should we have him come to a microphone?
Yes, come to the mic.
No, You want
Thank
me
you.
to start over, or we gotta keep going? So really, that's just, we just wanted to give you that worst case scenario of having to build a 400-foot tower. Byron's looked at this from an engineering standpoint. We know it can be done. We don't know that it's gonna be that drastic, so we didn't wanna guess. There'd be some engineering and some actual site reviews to see if you could lease a tower at a reasonable rate like you do currently on some other tower sites, so.
Have we ever had any dealings with, any dealing, what's the name of that? Bug tussle. Have you ever had any dealings with bug tussle?
We work with just about every tower provider, and
Anyway, they have a tower there.
yeah, and there's also a USL tower, I believe, that Byron located.
There's like 3 of them there, I think.
Right. So again, that number is, it could be significantly less if you're not building a tower. It could be, you might spend $3,000 a month or less to lease a tower, so it's going to be over time.
If we owned our own tower, is there a continuing charge other than utilities? As we're kind of struggling with our contracts with USL, we're afraid that when our contract expires, that the monthly cost per antenna is going to increase significantly. Rent lasts forever. And while it may be more expensive to build a tower today, over the course of eternity, it may not be more expensive than renting. But have you in the industry had any recent info on what's going to happen to our rental cost per antenna with USCell? We've heard some scary, scary stuff.
Sure. Really tough to answer, accurately until we have those conversations, or the county has those conversations with the individual cell providers. US Cellular, you point out, is one of the ones we've experienced that's had some pretty significant rate hikes. To your point, you've had that lease on those towers for, we're on our 3rd year, which would be a 15-year term, correct?
Right.
So your statement's accurate in the fact that over time, you don't have to rent. We have experiences in other counties which might have different rents. So yes, you're right. It's going to cost more. We just don't know how much more. A tower in La Crosse County off of I-90 probably costs a little bit more than a tower in Trempealeau County, maybe. We don't know until we have that conversation. I mean, you're a few years away from technically having to make that decision, but this is the right time to think about it.
Yeah, the rumors we've been hearing is anywhere between $800 and $1,200 a month per antenna. Now, initially I thought, well, that can't be, because currently we're paying $50 a month per antenna.
Correct. It's
That,
a
to me,
significant
is a
difference.
significant increase.
Right. So, and I think I've shared the example with this committee before. The last time we've had any experience with US Cellular, specifically in La Crosse County, I think they were quoted somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,800 to have a full site. Yeah. So
Per month?
per month.
Is that,
That's antennas and
Oh, okay.
microwave dishes, so it's a per,
Okay.
yeah. So you're doing a little bit different math, but as a total, still significantly higher than what you're experiencing today.
because I think our most expensive tower is $250 a month, because we've got 5 antennas.
It's an amazing rate you have right now, for
Yeah.
sure. And kudos to you, because you probably were involved in some of those negotiations
Yeah.
over the years, so.
Well, we do have one tower where we don't pay anything, so that's
That's the
even
best
better.
rate.
Yeah.
And we still, over the years, we've had that pleasure. Dairy Lynn Power, over the years, has been a great public service partner. They offer free rent, but those are harder to come by in this day and age. Yes,
Any
sir.
or all of these items are covered like with a new warranty?
Yes.
And what's the expected lifespan?
Well, so yeah, the varied levels of warranty. I mean, typically a manufacturer's warranty is for 1 year. Again, part of the relationship we have with the county is covered by a maintenance agreement that goes into effect after that. So in general terms, it's always going to be covered, assuming we keep that kind of same structure. Life expectancy, I mean, we're probably looking at 20 years for some of the equipment you have in place today. We always go with kind of a plan for 10 years to be safe. We've covered that. We've kind of stretched this out as long as we really should, and past that in the county now. But I'll say 10 years, but it's going to last longer than that, most likely, barring any major technological changes or things we don't know yet.
So say if we went with building a tower, is there a market where we'd be able to rent to others?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you own it, so if there is, I can't speak to like how many opportunities there are. There's been a lot of growth in that realm with the AT&T building towers in counties for their FirstNet initiative, I guess I'll call it. So yes, absolutely, you own it. You can do whatever you want with it at that point. I can't say if there will be anybody that rents on it or not. Maybe, probably. No, I can't predict the future. But yes, good question. It's your property, essentially. Any other
Well,
questions?
Just a statement. Back when this system was put into place, the system was built around a dollar amount. And we knew that having essentially dead ends on our system might be an issue. But the additional cost of having a loop so that if you had a tower fail, you could go the other way with it, that was intentionally turned down because of the cost. We knew close to 12 years ago, right around 2010 is when we started that process. We knew that it would be better for service to the county to build it so that there was redundancy. In my opinion, we need to do that now. There has been an increase in expectations from the public and from first responders that we can't meet because of the way this system has been constructed. We are under a lot of more scrutiny from first responders and part of the public for lack in the existing system. I equate that to mean eventually we're going to have to build it right. The longer we wait to do it, the more it's going to cost. I think, in my opinion, we need to go with the most expensive option today. And the argument here is basically, do we take the money from ARPA funds or do we take it from the general fund?
That would wipe out the general fund, pretty much. We don't wanna do that.
What'd you say, John?
That would pretty much wipe out the general fund, you know,
Right.
it would knock it down. a
I
little.
would think that this would be
We
a
can't
very
do
good,
that.
very
We'll lose
good
our-
use for the ARPA funds. It's benefiting the entire county.
I think there was a resolution made at one of our board meetings that that was stuff we weren't gonna touch the ARPA funds until this building project was done, but, and there should be money left over in it, but
I don't think there was a resolution made. I think it was suggested that we do not touch.
could be.
You did do a resolution and take money for the Justice Center, so there
But
is.
we did take some of it,
Yep.
but it was, what was it again?
About 2 million, I think.
Yeah, it was like just a hair over 2 mil.
Point something.
Yeah.
0.3.
2.3 mil?
2.3 million, I think that's what it is.
Okay. We had 5.7 mil, so this would, so there's some money there.
Paul, can you give us the numbers in the ARPA fund and what it would be if this entire amount came out? What would be left?
While he's looking, I'd like to state couple things for the record here. First of all, this is a public service initiative. This involves law enforcement, fire, and EMS service in the entire county. I don't want anybody to think it's just a law enforcement project because I'm the one being the spokesman here, but it is a public service project. And secondly, it does address a significant issue in the county where one area, first responder, fire, and law enforcement radio problem exists in that there is almost no coverage. We can't page or speak with those entities in that area. So I want to state those 2 points for the record, so.
Yeah, it's in my district, so that's the worst part.
If I can, to echo yours, I did attend the village board meeting the night you weren't there, and your entire board in the village of Oliva told me this is one of the proper projects for this, and they would be very supportive of this ARPA money going towards this project.
Question, and maybe this is like a newbie question, but does the entire amount have to come from one or the other, or can it be split up to some extent? Is that an option?
It definitely could be split. We could even borrow some if we had to. This isn't all gonna come out, you know, it's like, this is like a 2-year project, I'm thinking, right?
I'd say 1 year.
1 year?
1 year full, it depends on
What-
when we could split it over the year, so depending on how if you can disperse ARPA funds in this year, we can build partial for equipment and then carry it to next year.
How much?
For labor and stuff, so we're pretty
Can,
flexible.
come to the mic.
You forget about that.
I know.
So, to answer your question, it's about a 1-year project, barring any delays we don't see in terms of equipment and stuff like that. We could split this over 2 calendar years in terms of how you disperse funds, so we can work with the county on that.
Oh, how much do we have to come up front, like, basically, to get this moving?
We'd like to see 50%. Generally, that kind of allows us to buy the equipment up front, and then we build, you know, at completion, the other half.
And if it's approved, how long does it take to get this equipment?
Varied lengths, because there's a lot of equipment, but we would say 4 months, 4 to 6 months on worst case. What have we seen on some other large projects?
I would say you'd see a lot of this equipment shipped before the end of the year.
I didn't want to say that.
The reason I can't guarantee it, obviously.
Right,
The reason
right.
I'm saying that is, it's the end of the year, and most companies want to see some revenue, and they have to ship equipment before they can bill you. Therefore, you have to receive the equipment this year. So I think there will be a push to get that done, not
Right.
on our side, and I can't guarantee that.
Right, so
At the
I'll say that
beginning of the
again.
year, for sure.
I'll say it again just because I'm by the microphone, but that is a pretty standard thing we see with manufacturers this last quarter of the year. They will do everything they can to ship equipment, so they can count it in their fiscal year. Obviously, we're in some pretty unprecedented times in terms of supply chain and stuff like that. So if this was any other normal year, I would be a lot more confident saying that we would see that happen here. There's probably still a pretty good chance because this is high priority stuff for Motorola and some of these other folks. So we'll revise my statement to say best case by the end of the year, worst case by the end of first quarter, we would see some equipment.
We couldn't start the work until spring anyways, because of the microwave work on the towers.
So actual labor effort, so,
Even if we got the equipment in January.
right.
Mr.
Um,
Trainer?
If we move to build the system that includes a new tower, does Baycom act as a general contractor on the construction of that tower? I'm assuming that Baycom is not in the business to actually construct towers. Do you handle that end of it?
Correct, yeah, so start to finish, yeah, we have several tower partners. Byron's already kind of reached out to one of them to give us that kind of budgetary quote, not, with the unknowns at this point. So yes, we will be your partner and handle that start to finish.
Are you also going to handle property acquisition to put the tower on? Or is that the county's business?
No, sir, that is the county's business.
Okay. You'll suggest where, in relationship to the other towers, it should be generally located?
Correct. I mean, the typical process would be we would get together with the sheriff or any other stakeholders and get together with your land folks and kind of see what's out there, what's available. That's, they don't like to give up premier property, but we have those discussions and we make sure that our engineering team's involved to validate that piece of land we're talking about is viable.
Okay, so essentially, there would be an addition to this highest cost for property acquisition.
If that was necessary for you to buy land, then that's correct.
More than likely.
But that's pretty easy to come out of general fund because it won't be that expensive to purchase the land.
Question for Paul, put you on the spot. We've got this little thing to take care of. If we go to the highest cost, we use ARPA funds for this, ARPA funds for the new building. Is it all possible, or you don't have time to?
Well, I'm glad Sam had it on her laptop there. If we took the highest scenario that you have in these 4 resolutions, we'd still have $1,285,000 left in the ARPA funds.
We'd have that left
There would still be that much available for spending on something else.
on the towers, but not, we've already, so you're taking out the 1.5 for the building?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then, we've got issues here yet.
Yeah. Yes,
You
we
weren't
do.
figuring ARPA funds for that as of right
Nope.
now?
Nope.
Okay.
No, some of that was coming out of the general fund. This is a consideration for the ARPA funds. So,
What if we did like he's suggesting, the half out of ARPA funds now with leaving the rest in that account? We'd get this project started. As I understood it, it would start with 50 or thereabout. And then we'd have next year to figure out the rest. By that time, we should have a better idea with the Justice Center.
Is there an issue with, let's say, passing the resolution to take this $2,097,748.62 out of ARPA funds. We take 2 years to pay for it, and in the meantime, find money, decide to take it from somewhere else at some point in the future. I think rather than refer this to be reworked according to how we pay for it, would be an unnecessary delay. I'd like to see, in fact, I'll make the motion to accept the largest cost with the new tower and the redundancy built in and the microwaves, the $2,097,748.62 to come out of ARPA. And if we change our mind on how to pay for it later in that 2-year period, we can do that.
Yeah, you can make an amendment, bring it back to the table.
Can I ask for clarification? You didn't say, you're saying to take it from ARPA funds?
Yes.
No, okay. I didn't hear that in the motion.
I'll second that.
So I have a motion on the table by the law enforcement chair to accept the resolution for the $2,097,748.62 to come out of ARPA funds for the radio towers, and seconded by Mr. Johnson.
Now,
So-
that's if you gotta build it. If you don't, it'll probably drop down to like 1.8 something.
Yeah, yep. So that was with the building of the new tower, if need be. So, since this does deal with finances, we are gonna do a roll vote. But
Just
I
a
do have-
question, probably, like she said, a newbie question. This motion was made for law enforcement committee, not for the
I
entire
believe that's
committee.
how.
Is that correct?
It's a joint one, so it's
Okay.
joint, so this would go through everybody. But I'm gonna do it per group, so I'm gonna do finance and then I'll do, law enforcement, so. For,
Most came from law enforcement. Let them do it first.
so law enforcement, so law enforcement's doing it first. Stacy Klein,
Yes.
Dan Schreiner,
Yes.
Ron Johnson.
Yes.
So 3 yeses from law enforcement. We'll go to exec finance. John Ozen.
Yeah.
Doc
No, we
Sisha.
don't need a separate motion?
No.
Okay. Yes.
David Larson.
Yes.
Riley Foltz, yes. 4 yeses, so total of 7-0. Motion passes, resolution will be signed.
Now, this resolution will go before the full board this month.
Yep.
Okay.
So, all right. No further discussion on that. Yep. John Osmond signing it right now, it just works around the table.
If we're social workers,
So, all right.
the first responders will be
Yeah.
able to talk to each other on their way there.
One thing I would ask, I suspect, would we want Baycom representatives at the full county board meeting this month?
Yeah,
I think it'd be a good idea.
excellent idea.
Yep.
And I'll send you that.
Thank you.
It's just 2 separate resolutions. One's for paying equipment, one's for, they're basically the same.
They're the same, you got the 2 packs?
Yes.
They're the exact same resolutions, just the difference is coming from ARPA or general. That's why you got the 2 packs.
Yeah.
All right.
And the one we signed must have been ARPA.
Yep, the one we signed
You
was from.
got the right one.
I hope so.
I didn't look as it went by.
Sam, look at it, make sure, or,
Yep, we got the right one.
okay.
Yeah. You don't-
All right.
I guess law enforcement is done here, and we reconvene in the PAC room at 9:30.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for law enforcement.
Because
I'm gonna go get a cup of
an
coffee,
hour for
too.
this part. It only took a half.
Who are you folks missing for?
Todd, Andy Todd, and David Orr.
Who else is on law enforcement?
David Orr
Oh, Dave, okay.
and Andy Todd.
Oh, okay. Oh, Andy's in Hawaii. and David-
Ah, okay. So they can't be here. They didn't come in Zoom. I wonder if that would have come in from Hawaii. It'd been kind of neat.
That would have made us all jealous, but, all right.
Riley, can I ask if it would be okay to move number 11
is good
up?
news.
I've got Catherine Schaff on the Zoom right now. She's the administrator at Eau Claire County to talk about the rural partnership.
I got a motion on the table to move item number 11 to number 7. Seconded by Mr. Seisha. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None, motion carried. All right.
There she is.
Good morning, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have some paperwork in your packets there too. It says Eau Claire County Administration and then the email right after that. But I think Catherine will explain it a lot better than I will.
So with permission, I'll just begin. The
Go ahead.
Rural Partners Network, the county, Eau Claire County, was contacted a number of weeks ago by the federal government, by the local USDA individual, and they indicated that we had been identified as a potential area for a Rural Partners Network. This is a network that has been piloted in other states in the nation. And when they focused on Wisconsin, they looked at different demographic information and data around poverty. And they indicated that the Eau Claire area was eligible to apply for the use of, or to participate in, I should say, the Rural Partners Network. And so what we did is we had a number of calls with them to identify what the program really was. And then we sent out asks to our surrounding counties to see if they had an interest in potentially expressing intent or interest in becoming one of the Rural Partner Network's communities. And so we sent, of course, to Trempealeau as well, and they said that yes, we potentially would have an interest. At this point, we have submitted our letter of intent or letter of interest to the federal government. All they required in that was that we identify the potential communities that may want to partner with us. What we will end up with, if we are selected as one of their rural partners, is that we will actually have federal staff that's actually dedicated to resourcing our area. And so there's no capital investment, no request for funding that we have to come up with as a region. We simply start to bring our resources together to identify projects that our rural communities would like to accomplish. And so that can either be the county itself, it could be working with different communities within your jurisdiction. One of the beauties of having the county be one of the partners in this is that your communities, without having to actually explicitly be on the list, would be allowed to utilize this network for any projects they might have or want to undertake. And so what we did is we identified local partners from a municipal government standpoint. We identified potential partners with some of our educational institutions as well as some of our economic development partners. And so what we did is we put those out there, and then we identified potential projects that we may want to work on. Some of those that were put forward by some of our partners were workforce, housing, some basic economic development types of activities, agritourism, broadband, And those are some of the things that we put into the application that we created. It is not required that we nail down exactly what it is we want to do. We just had to give that list of what it is that we'd hope to accomplish. And so I believe the intent today was to, we put the initial information on our interest on behalf of our other local government partners, and we're waiting to see then what the federal government will say. But I think also just to make sure that the local governing bodies are aware of this and that they're consistent, or that they would agree with this direction.
We got just Eau Claire and Trumbull County so far, or?
No, there's,
Just Eau Claire and Trumbull County so far, or?
No, sir. We actually have Chippewa, Dunn, I hope I don't miss
Look at this
anybody.
one on the
Chippewa,
second
Dunn, Trempealeau, Clark. I think Jackson County was the only one that did not want to participate. I'll go back and double check our application. We only had one community that wasn't interested. And we had in Eau Claire County itself, the city of Augusta, the city of Altoona, and Fall Creek and Fairchild were also interested. So they indicated that they would be interested in working with federal partners to see how we can use federal resources to coordinate and to pull down federal dollars for projects we might have.
So we'd need to appoint somebody from our county to be part of it, a person, correct? Or is it,
I believe that we, at the point that we begin working on this, I think we would want to have someone from the county appointed to be the liaison, so that if there are projects within your county, those projects can be brought forward and we can make that connection. So we would likely we haven't completely thought all this out, but your question is a good one. We'd probably want to have some sort of coordinating committee or group that would actually aid in this work.
I would have no problem with this. I think anytime we can work together in this environment, it's just a plus, and we have nothing to lose by signing up. Any other opinions?
Question, we are not asking for any kind of dollars from the county? Or is that
No,
to come later?
No, we are not, and I think that the only point at which you would be putting any monies forward would be if you as a county had a project that you were undertaking and there was a cost share with federal dollars. So let's say that you were going to use this program and work with the federal government to expand broadband. There may be dollars that would be available that would have a cost share component with like an 80-20 match. And so if you said that we want to expand broadband, this is how we want to do it, that may, at that point, but you would have gone through your process to identify your projects and how you want to fund them before you would make application for the funding.
I don't have any problem with what we're talking about.
Did you make a motion? Or you didn't make
I didn't make a motion, no. Is that kind of where we're at? Any more questions, or?
Yeah, I'm asking.
I guess I would make a motion to join
The rural partnership?
in the rural, I guess that's, yeah, rural
what it's called.
partnership. Is there any more?
I don't have any resolution on it or anything like that. And I was just asking Rick if it was something we had to take to county board, or if this committee can just take care of that. No money.
I guess I'll leave it up to this committee if it feels appropriate to do. I don't know if it's necessary, but if it feels appropriate to do.
I think it should go to full county board, but
Let's bring it to the county board. Is
Bring it to
everybody in
full
favor?
board. So that way everyone has a,
Do you have a second to his motion yet? If not, I will.
okay, I have a motion on the table
And
by.
to bring it to
Second,
full
bring it
county
to the
board.
county board, right?
Yep.
And we might want Catherine back at that point.
When are your county board meetings?
The one that this would be on would be the next one, right?
Yeah, next
October
board meeting.
17th, and it starts at 7 o'clock at night.
Are you sure isn't this the one that's 6 o'clock?
Oh,
Is-
yeah, but the first hour.
Oh, okay. First
The
hour
first hour is your training session,
Okay.
so it would be probably, we'd put it on first thing on the agenda, so probably about
7:10.
7:10.
And may I attend via Zoom again?
Yes,
Oh, yes.
yes, I'll make
Okay.
sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That you didn't vote yet.
No,
Okay.
we still have to do the voting. So I have a motion on the table by Mr. Seisha to partnership, or go into the rural partnership and bring this to full county board, seconded by Mr. Larson. And all those in, any more discussion before we vote? Seeing none, we'll put this to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None, motion carries. Thank you very much, Catherine, for joining in
Thank you,
today.
Catherine.
Thank you.
Now, you don't have to stay on and listen to the rest if you don't want to.
Bye. All right. Item number 8, county sales tax update. Mr. Severson.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just gave him the direction.
Oh, that's fine.
Do a resolution. County sales tax, we got a nice surprise again, I'm gonna say, $236,733.83, bringing us to $1,505,216.78, which were ahead of last year by almost $50,000.
Good to know. And then general fund update.
And there actually was no change, so we're still at $3,638,552.75.
Okay. Any discussion on those items? All right, moving on. Department report requests, quarterly update from land records. Ann?
Morning.
Morning.
Last time I brought Tess down and introduced her to you guys, I thought I'd introduce Nick and let him kind of tell you what he does.
Morning, everybody. My name is Nick Gamrath. I'm the real property lister GIS specialist. And just going to kind of give you a rundown on my position. State statute 7009 governs the RPL position. And just to give you some little kind of interesting tidbits, the Trempealeau County created this RPL position as a standalone department in 1952. And from 1952 to 2016, only 3 people, myself as one of them, have held this position. So you want to talk about job retention compared to other positions in the county, that's a pretty good stat. And then I resigned from my position in May of 16, and then I came back again in just after November of 18, and 2 people went through that position. So from 1952 to 2016, 3 people, but in that short period of time, it went through 2. So just thought I'd throw that little stat out there. In 2016, right before I left, we added the GIS specialist job title to my position, just because of the way my position and its duties had morphed into doing more GIS work. And so then at that time, went away from a standalone department and moved under the direction of the land records coordinator, which was Ann at the time. The main duties of my position is updating property ownership in the assessment and tax roll, by latest records recorded in the Register of Deeds office, and then working with the assessors to ensure that we got the most accurate property tax database that we can for the county. Currently, this year, until September, I'm the WRPLA president, so I've got quite a bit on my plate in that role and stuff. And along with that, I'm on the Department of Revenue State and Local Finance Committee, and I'm heading up a group of stakeholders in the state, and we're working on Chapter 7 of the Assessor Manual, going through and making updates to that. Two things that just came to me here recently that I'm working with other stakeholders on. There's a federal legislation called the Daniel Adderall Judicial Security and Privacy Act. I guess there's some federal legislation going on that had to deal with some potential harm to federal judges or anybody else that works in a public capacity like that, with protecting their privacy, with records being out there on the internet and people showing up at their houses being upset and stuff like that. So there's going to be some discussion on potentially on how that can affect the work that the land records community does and stuff. So probably keep this committee informed on how that could affect us here locally in Trempealeau County. And then also some state legislation that's being proposed by Eau Claire County that affects school district boundaries. They're looking at having people in my position just by, if a landowner doesn't like what school district they're on and they're like kind of like right on the border, just come to a person in my position and say, change the school district boundary. I don't like being in that school district and stuff. And I personally don't think that's right. I think the school districts need to be involved with that, and there should be a petition either to one of the school districts to make that change and stuff. But other than that, we have, if you ever were in our office, we got a huge whiteboard in there with all kinds of projects and jobs that we're working on in order to meet the requirements of the grants and stuff that Ann has with us, with the state and stuff. So we're busy trying to fulfill those needs and any other requests that come from departments or county board members or even the public. So is there any questions for me at all? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Just a comment, I would agree with you on your assessment of the school board or the school district situation.
Yeah.
Those boundary lines are a big enough mess now.
Yeah.
So besides that, everyone should have gotten a printout on Monday, right? You mean you didn't study it? I thought I'd just print this out and go over it real quick. I have everything that we've done from September 14th of 2021 through September 14th of 2022. I included our most popular apps. The first few pages are our most popular apps, the ones that we create in-house and maintain in-house, and it has the requests, the amount of times people have looked at them in that year. There's the municipal information application that includes the wards, supervisory districts, and polling locations. That became really popular in March. And then the surveyor's portal, which helps the surveyors, they don't have to come in and do their research. Community information had quite a few hits. That's just local businesses and points of interest. ATV routes, snowmobile trails, and then our tourism webpage had the most hits. And like I said, we create these and maintain these in-house. Page 7 has all the data layers that we have created and maintained over the years. And that goes partway through page 8. And then I just did an overview of the year, kind of month by month. And usually that's the same program every year. I won't read all of them to you. And then the last page just has a hodgepodge of things we deal with depending on the day. Walk-ins, email, phone, dealing with taxpayers, realtors, title companies, attorneys, assisting different municipalities. We assist a lot of other departments too. And of course, training and meetings. So, does anyone have any questions? You're probably still looking through it, so.
Anything for Ann?
We either understand it fully or we don't understand it. Ask questions.
You can always stop in the office too.
Yep.
Anytime.
All right. There's no other further questions for Ann. Thank you. Thank you both for all the hard work you do.
Thank you.
All right, item B. Clerk, county clerk.
Mine's going to be short because the last couple of months, all we've been working on is budget. So that's the big thing, but actually the bigger thing is the election for November. We've got our absentee ballots are all out. We found out that the official ballots will not be here for.
They'll be sure tomorrow.
She just emailed you. Oh, excellent. I was getting a little touchy on that because some of our clerks actually ran out of absentee ballots. And so Command Central had to print some extra ballots. So, and all our ballots, huh?
Already they run out, you said.
Just absentee, yep.
Yeah, no.
Right, because we hadn't gotten the officials yet. And Command Central is able to print small quantities in-house. Otherwise, all our ballots are printed in Missouri, which bothers me a lot lately, to wait for something to come from Missouri. And it turned out that that printing company, whatever it is huge, but they had to supply the whole United States with absentee ballots. They said they were going to do that before they send us our officials. So now Sam tells me we at least got the ballots are being shipped tomorrow. We should be happy. That'll probably be 2 days. That's probably the biggest thing. We are geared up for the November election now. 8th.
Just over a month.
Yep. We had ballots printed at the number of 110% of the registered voters in the county anyway. So we shouldn't run out of any ballots. We just had one municipality in August that did run out of ballots. So, but this is kind of the first year of the new voting machines so that we know how many. You know, we kind of like the old Edge where it was the touch screen. You could have up to 4,000 voters on one machine. Well, we don't have them anymore because the machines are obsolete. So they went out of service. And so the new ICE machines, it's all a paper ballot. So everybody votes on paper. So there's the paper trail and no part that could make it change the number of votes or whatever, because it's a paper copy.
The new machine seems to have worked out better than some anticipated.
Yes, yes.
Another question, maybe it's off base from here, but you're talking absentee. Now, your office, do you determine the criteria for mailing out an absentee ballot, or is that strictly local clerks, or is it
The criteria
local
for
clerks
mailing
with your
out
advice, or?
absentee ballots is all by state statutes and elections, state elections. They had to be out by 22nd of August. But then, of course, people are still asking for absentees, and that's
No,
where
I was going more the other way in the criteria for somebody to receive one, the ballot. Is
Oh.
that determined by your office,
No.
strictly state statutes?
That's pretty
Or the
much,
local clerks?
the Elections Commission.
There's no,
They
no,
all, a person can actually go on the election site, it's called My Vote,
Mm-hmm.
and request a ballot. And so a ballot will be shipped out to them through that portal, I guess you'd call it.
There's no actual real criteria, if you're not gonna be home that day or, anything like that.
Yeah. Oh, are you talking about the ones that can request?
Right.
It used to be that when you were incapacitated or in the hospital or something like that. Now, there's no
excuse needed.
reason.
Right, yeah. Yep, that I knew.
So, yep, that's up to the voter.
Okay.
So other than that, the office is running very smoothly. We're getting a lot of other work done. Marriage licenses have been up because July 1st, the state changed that ruling where you used to have to apply in the county that you're a resident of. Now you can apply anywhere in the state for a marriage license. And we've been getting a bunch more. We get a lot from La Crosse County lately, only because their price is higher than ours. We're one of the cheapest in the state, so. No, that's revenue. If I keep it low, I go for quantity
That's more
rather
people
than.
coming in.
Yeah, so, no, but we've had a lot, in the Holman area. La Crosse County actually does appointments, and their appointments were booked up 30 days. So if somebody wanted to get married next week, and they were La Crosse resident, they weren't going to get married that. But we accommodate. They come up, we give it to them. We've even had, the waiting period now is 3 days instead of 5 days. That's the other part. So if somebody forgot to go and get their license, if they get in early enough with us, the 3-day wait, they can get married the same week. And so that's money in our pocket.
Yep.
I won't be able to talk about budget next time. And maybe not even elections next time. We'll be done with
It's
it.
so easy to get into that situation, get married, but it's a heck of a job to get the hell out of it.
True, but I don't handle that part. That's upstairs in Clerk of Court's office. I get them married, Clerk of Courts gets them unmarried. So that's, there's still a lot of confusion because somebody just yesterday said, "How long have you been Clerk of Courts for Trempealeau County?" I said, "I've never been Clerk of Courts." And then somebody thought I was retiring because all these other people were running for Clerk of Courts, and I said, "No, that's not my job." So I still have to do some education on some people, so that's about it.
All right. Anything else for the clerk? Nothing? All right, we'll move on to item 10, which would be the resolution for permit food purchase. Aaron Newberry.
I don't see Aaron.
Gonna be here for that?
I thought so. He knows it's on the agenda.
Do you want to give some info on it? You should give us some info on it, because.
Oh.
Was it the same one for human services?
Yeah, no, yeah, well, it's.
Well, in essence, it is,
It was
yes.
basically, the original one was it from Human Services or Land Use that he was using?
Human Services.
Okay.
Well, I can give a little bit of background on that then.
Okay.
Human Services, when they brought theirs forward, they do some programs where they bring people in for consultations or webinars or workshops, and they're an all-day thing. So they wanted to be able to pay for meals inside the county, because our county policy says that you only get paid for meal reimbursement if you're at something outside Trempealeau County. Well, these instances where they have the clients come in, they wanted to be able to do that, and that's when they did the resolution to allow it's still under supervision, but allow to pay for in-county meals for their employees when they're doing these workshops. I guess that's the best word for it. So now the Health Committee, Board of Health, has asked basically the same thing, that they be allowed to have in-county meals for employees when they're conducting these workshops.
So would that have to be away from the courthouse itself, or could they be?
They could have it at a school or something, you know, just any place.
They could have a meeting, come down here and have a meeting, have food brought in.
Yeah.
They could.
That's the way Human Services has it, and that's how Health Committee wants it.
Is that 1950, is that within our, it seems like, is that our, I forget
That-
what our amounts
That
are.
ended up being actually 2 people, I think is what it was.
Hey, there's Aaron.
Oh, there we go. I tried to, were you watching, or?
watching,
Oh, good. Now, let him explain it the right way.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Apologize about that. Short-staffed, so doing our best up there. The resolution to permit food purchases, and I might repeat what Paul said because I didn't hear what he said, but
No, that's fine.
The intent was, we had an event back in May of 2022 where we purchased food for a lot of community partners, and there were 20 folks that came to the meeting, but there were 2 employees, to include myself, and it was a buffet, and we ate the food. And it came to light through the audit process that was against the county policy for, Paul, what is the policy, the internal food?
Yeah, you can't have meal reimbursement for meals inside the county. You have to be out of county, is our county policy.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, yep, thank you. So, anyway, this is 2 parts. It's one to get approval. You know, I learned in the process that I should have gone to my committee to get approval for this, to be in line with the county policy at that time. And then I'm pretty sure Paul was talking about, this is based off of, Human Services has a resolution to permit food purchases. This is modeled pretty closely off of that, which they got passed in February of 2022 or 2021 maybe. 2021, and the only thing that I have changed on the difference between the Human Services resolution was change the number from 100 to 300. Inflation, I mean, I don't know, I can't go to Qdoba and buy anything for less than $15 for lunch, so I just think that's the only reason, but it's about a reasonable amount, and the purpose is, there are events which we bring a lot of community members. This particular event was a community health improvement planning process, which involved, there was a county board member there, it was a hospital system, it was libraries, it was the schools, it was a number of different people, and it was about analyzing data for a community health assessment problem and trying to decide what the priority for Trempealeau County's needs were. So these stakeholder meetings are things that need to happen from time to time, and the food approved by the grant was not tax levy, it was grant money from the prevention grant at the state. It's approved within the grant, and occasionally these things are going to happen, and that's the purpose of the resolution. So.
So basically,
My comment would be that Board of Health, and if Human Services is already doing a similar thing, and it's within your budget, I don't see that would be any issue at all.
The county policy still has it that in-county meals are not paid for, so this is a special exception. It would still fall into the guidelines that breakfasts are 8, lunches are 9, and dinners are 17. So that would be the one thing you'd have to kind of watch.
So you're questioning that if we go to this amount,
Well,
or
this,
just the whole policy itself?
the part for the people that are not county employees is no problem. It's the county employee part.
that's one thing I've never asked for reimbursement for a meal yet. I figure I gotta eat no matter where I'm at, so I just pay for it out of my own pocket.
Yeah, so it's to get around the county policy. I have opinions about the county policy on what its intent is and the employee meals. I think its intent personally is to get around, so I can't just expense my lunch because I had a meeting and charge the taxpayer for it. I don't think that this is what was happening for a meeting such as this, or any of the others listed. That sometimes trainings are going to happen, and there's money there to pay for it, just because I happen to be an employee of the county where the training is happening.
Yeah. Well, you said most of this is actually coming out of some grant money anyway, right?
It all came out of grant money and would
Once-
come out of grant money.
Once the county receives a grant, that is now county money. It's not a,
But it didn't come out of tax levy money.
it didn't come out of tax levy, but once it's,
And if it wasn't allowable by the grant would not reimburse us. So we don't think we receive the money necessarily. I think that we submit for reimbursement from the grant.
I don't have a problem with it, unless you want to change that in 1950 or something.
no, that's
the
in the
total.
past. That part is,
That's the total.
we've gotten over that.
Is that the total?
That was what was questioned at audit.
Okay,
Yep.
so that figure is okay on here?
Yeah.
So this is not saying it's gonna come out of grants. This,
No.
No.
For the most part, it will, but it'll be coming out of grants, but it
right,
not necessarily happens.
so there's a chance it could come out of taxpayers' money, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to go along with it. Sure make audit a little easier. Piddly things. We're just like the meetings we had at WCA, and don't worry about the $10 items, worry about the big things.
So I have a motion on the table to accept the resolution,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mr. Larson. Motion by John Osden, seconded by Mr. Larson.
Now I have another question. Okay, reading this over now. This is a two-part piece as I see it. We're offering up to $300 for any event, generally speaking. Plus, you're asking to be reimbursed for the 1950 for the May meeting. Am I reading that right?
I'm asking for pre-approval for the 1950.
Yeah, post.
If the county policy was followed properly, I should have went to my committee and asked
Right,
them
yep.
for approval, and that's part of what this is.
But then farther up the paragraph or two up, we're asking to do approve up to $300 for a future one. Am I hearing that right?
For employees. I
Right.
can't imagine whatever.
That actually is not in the resolved part. So you're just allowing payments for purchase of foods which are not
Okay,
solely made
okay.
for the purpose of benefiting staff,
Okay,
but where
okay,
staff
that-
may partake.
Yep.
Yep. So the $300 is just that's one of the whereases. It doesn't mean anything.
Clarifying that.
Okay. Any other comments? This has gotta be roll vote, doesn't it?
You're
Doesn't-
just making a motion to send it to county board.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Doc, Dick, Richard,
All right, there you go, Aaron.
Doc, will you
Doc.
sign this one?
Oh.
And then give it to John, and John can
What
give
way
it to
can we
Riley,
up?
and then come around that way, and Sam will
Okay.
end up with it again.
So county board next week, or next month?
This month.
Yeah, in
The
2 weeks.
7th, In 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Item 12, discussion actions, ARPA funds report.
Well, I'll have to give you a new one now after what you just did with your resolution to go to county board for the Baycon towers and that kind of stuff. So it's at $1,285,000. I hope you got it on there, because Stacy took the resolution with.
So you're saying that's our balance
Yeah,
after what we did?
After what, and actually, all you're doing is allocating it, because I have to do a report to ARPA, the feds, saying what it's
Okay.
been allocated for. We
Okay.
don't have it, to have it spent until 2026, but we have to have it all allocated by 2024.
So that would leave what in there, you said?
1,285,000, something.
Some,
I got 1,285,000, those other dollars, we didn't.
That's-
No. We every
Like-
dollar counts.
Yeah, I know it was 1,285,000 something.
0,000. Let's go with that.
You should have it on there someplace.
Yeah, you should do the math.
I do the words, remember? How we established this.
So-
1,285,000 is all I got.
Oh, that sounds good enough for now.
That's all right.
Yep.
About, so.
Yep.
Oh, so you just have to get the exact numbers then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have that report updated to, for next month.
For next month. Yeah, we did discuss that earlier.
Because then
so-
the county board will have acted on that resolution.
Yep. All right. FEMA update.
I gave you something to hand out to them, didn't I?
Yes. We had an email.
From FEMA,
Yep.
which even made me more irritated.
Megan Marks.
Yes.
Yep.
Good, because I didn't get my copy back. But anyway, that's okay, because I remember what it was. It had to do with the x-ray machine and the all-body scanner in the jail. They needed more criteria for that, and that was $140,000 that they weren't paying us because they needed more information. Now, if you read in that email that I got back from Megan, the feds aren't going to accept it anyway. So that's another $140,000 that came out of the general fund that will not get replenished to the general fund. She's also submitted another, a submittal, I guess you'd have to call it, $260-some thousand. Should be in there, I think, in that email. That we'll be working on now. They'll also submit the $80-some thousand administration cost that they billed us and we paid. We will get that part back. The administration does come back. At least they say it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What time was Al coming?
Oh, yeah, you're supposed to email me those revenue sheets too.
Can you email him back and say, is he on his way?
Okay. Anything else for the FEMA update?
That's all I've got.
That's all? Okay. Item 14, be the 2023 budget discussion.
Did, Sam, you handed all those out? Good, okay, you got all the long sheets. Hang on, I know I got a sheet that says. So, if you look at the 7th page, the bottom line, 17,223,166 even.
Yep.
That is our levy, and that makes the levy limit where we're supposed to be, right at 0.
So where'd you take all the money from to get that?
I asked John to hand me a, no. It was in our debt service, so we can, we got it balanced anyway. And then with all the other cutting that you did, one thing you have to decide today, if you're going to bond for highway, then we have to put $140,000 in for the sheriff's vehicles, because I took the $140,000 out to balance this. If you don't, I'm gonna put it back in and we're gonna take more from the general fund. I think we are at 321,000. It'll be on page four. On page 4, about in the middle. 321,000 from the general fund to balance the budget. It's about,
That's page
maybe about
4.
a third
Yeah.
of the way down. You'll see where it says general fund applied,
Yep, I see it.
okay? Just before the break there, you see there's a
Oh,
line.
general fund,
There you
okay.
go, yep. It's 321,000 something, because I don't have that sheet either.
For what, the launch?
Yeah.
Three hundred.
You got an extra one?
321,000, right?
Yeah.
Yep,
So,
321,000.
490.11.
Yeah.
There you go, yep, that's it. If you decide differently on the bonding,
General fund anyway.
then the 140,
3.3 in the general fund, which is a good number. I like that.
the only thing would be that if you do not borrow for the sheriff's vehicles, then that's gonna go up by $140,000, which makes it about 460,000 coming from the general fund, and that's a
We're gonna need
good.
Brian, yeah, at the county board meeting.
Who?
Brian Riley.
Brian Riley.
Oh, yeah, you're planning that.
So we're gonna borrow 4 million for roads, is that correct?
We have not made
You
that
have not
decision.
decided that yet. That's why that's why I said, when you decide if you're going to borrow,
I'm in the middle.
I'm
you're
not,
the bad.
I'm not, not a 4 million.
Are you interested in getting on the county board? Is that where you're here? Oh, is that the citizen member? Oh, cool. I was kind of hoping you were from Arcadia. That's where you're-
He's
No,
not.
it's from lacrosse.
Oh. Looking for interested people for county board.
I think I got.
Well,
the right
technically, you're not yet.
Well, it will be shortly.
Yeah.
In the
So-
sheriff, that went well. Sorry for not being here Thursday. We didn't add the
It didn't go
employees.
too bad.
No, we didn't add anybody, and we
Didn't take a heck of a lot.
didn't take a lot out of his budget. There wasn't much to cut. They slimmed her pretty tight.
The only other question was the vehicle purchase, to whether to try to take it out of
General
levy
fund
or.
It was submitted as levy,
Yeah.
and to bring that number down for the general fund, I put it towards debt.
Right.
Yeah, right,
So,
And-
that's still a decision you're gonna have to make. If that
So,
doesn't,
getting back to the highway there, I guess that doesn't affect anything, it's just what we're gonna borrow, is basically, right?
Yeah, well, it's not in this budget. So
right, if you decide not to borrow at all, I have to put that 140 back into the levy.
That's the decision we need.
That's where you're
I would be in
sitting.
favor of borrowing if we're gonna borrow for highway, I guess,
Yep,
just
right,
add
yep,
it
yep.
for this year, and we're gonna have to
Yeah.
change our way of borrowing after this year, I think.
Sam, did you hear anything
Our
from?
argument, yeah,
Oh, okay.
you know,
I think we probably told them after
Caroline,
10,
argued that
because,
We've been doing 5 million a year for the last 3 years, and we kind of want to wean it off slowly, like 4 million, I could live with 4 million. Dropping it all the way down to 3 is a big cut, plus we've already purchased a lot of this stuff
Right.
for the next construction.
So then
season.
we should also decide then where we're going next year then, I guess. Don't we have to make, maybe not at this meeting, but we have to
But
pretty
we have
soon
to be,
decide.
we have to be thinking
Yeah,
where we're
pretty
going. and,
So he
you know,
isn't purchasing, or he wants to know that too, doesn't he?
Right, yep. Yep.
Well, he likes
He's,
to plan
he's
at
been
least
jumping the
3 to-
gun pretty hard right now of doing all these projects without really asking permission from the finance. So he's been just doing projects, and now now we gotta pay for it because he keeps moving forward. Well, we need to stop or reduce the bonding so we're not borrowing so much and then our levy doesn't go up. Cause that's where, when we had Brian Riley, that's what it was
Right.
coming down to, is our levy was gonna go up even more, which that would make a lot of taxpayers not happy. So,
Paul, didn't we come up with a scenario where we could actually lower the levy a little bit?
Yeah, you were gonna come up with a,
The mill rate.
Or the mill rate, yeah.
The mill rate, this is the number, the 17, if you got your last page of your long sheets there. That's 17,223,166 is the dollar figure that we cannot go over.
Yep.
And I'm finding from other counties, they go right up to the max because it's hard to,
Oh, here he is, we were talking about, you must have heard us.
Yeah.
here's 2 seats for you, right here.
Really hot.
No, these 2 have cooled off. Keep pulling. Oh, so anyway, I don't want to change that number, okay?
Well, you can't change that.
I can't change it.
You can
and I
change
don't
it
want-
down.
Okay, but then that's the thing I was gonna tell you about, that right now, with that 17,223,166, that puts our mill rate at 607. Last year, we were at 619.
619, yeah.
So it is a lower mill rate. And if your assessed value stayed the same, your taxes are gonna go down.
until we borrow the money, then they'll,
No.
but they won't because we're not gonna borrow money until
If-
after the first of the year.
If we borrow money, we'll borrow it right after the first of the year. That makes it no payments due in '23. The first payments will be due in '24. And then some of the other bonds that we have will be paid off in '24. So that would be like a replacement. And that's kind of what Brian Riley wanted
Yeah,
to.
it's no big
to work.
secret that this committee, you all know, next year is gonna be the challenge all the way around because we're opening a building,
Yep.
got another highway bill on
Yep.
there.
So,
Well, what we have to come to agreement on is if
Now,
we're gonna go
were
like
you-
4,140,000 or a different figure to put on next year's. And that should be approved at our November meeting anyway.
Right, but you've got to finalize it here
Right.
now,
first.
Paul, your numbers were used with the 4 million?
4 million is debt,
That is debt, yep.
yeah. And that part you don't have to worry about until the year after.
Next year.
Right. Yeah, I suppose we can all plan on dying before then, so.
Or being killed. Well, highway's here now.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, I wasn't here on Friday were you called back and were you here, or on Thursday?
Yep.
And the rumor I'm getting, they're talking about taking some highway borrowing money away.
Yeah.
4 million is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And are you hearing that the board you're dealing with now is maybe not gonna be real approval of 4 million the following year?
Yep.
You gotta know that yesterday, right?
Yeah, on Thursday, yeah.
Well, it's hard to plan anything in the future
Right.
for highway if they don't, like the state, just for the short time I was out there, they got an 8-year plan of what's happening for the next 8 years on roads and, stuff will change, but they're that far out. We're just basically living day to day the way we're setting this up, and that's not a good way to operate.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it comes down to how many miles of road, the county wants to see get done. Like I said, we need to be on a minimum of a 10 miles per year, just for an average life cycle. That's if all the roads were already on that cycle, which they're not. They're far, far behind. But that's, I've been trying to do about 15 miles per year, which we've done the last 3 years. So this next year we're talking about here today. Yeah, on Thursday we talked about, it sounds like 5 million's out of the question. Okay, fine, we can adapt, we can revise, but I wouldn't go any below $4 million over 1 year. After 3 years of 5 million, we're kind of built up, the arsenal's built up, the equipment, the men. I wouldn't cut too drastically too quickly. So we would be okay at $4 million next year, and that'll still get us about 10 miles of road done, which is still a good amount of road. I mean, we're not gonna catch up at all at that rate, but
it's good. But then the following year after that, I would never go below 4 million. Because, you know, we have inflation, costs keep going up, you know, employee wages keep going up, so, you know, say we get $4 million a year, it might be 10 miles next year. The year after, it might be 9.5 miles. It's gonna keep going down just because other costs keep rising. And the roads are already behind. So if we start going below that $4 million mark, well, below the $5 million mark, we're gonna continue to fall behind road-wise. At 4 million, we're gonna fall behind farther. But at least we can still, you know, make a difference. But yeah, you guys have the tough responsibility of, you know, the debt load, the mill rate. I get that too. I mean, we'll do whatever you
guess you
guys
have to.
finance us to do. Yeah.
Hate
I
to
mean,
say that.
yeah.
You'd have to break it up between how much you want roads and bridges.
Yep, so the bridges are basically dictated by the state, you know, based on our inspections and the ratings. So next year, we have one bridge, is all we have for next year. So that's why I had it split up a little differently, 200,000 a bridge next year, and then the remainder going into roads. So that 200,000 at a bridge, that's gonna remain unchanged. So it's really a question of how many miles do you wanna see for roads to get done next year? So at 10 miles, you know, that's the $4 million mark.
I probably shouldn't make this statement, but based on my own survey, I'm not sure we can get a $4 million deal past the full board. Has anybody else done any research?
No, it isn't gonna be popular, but,
What's that, John?
I'm sure it isn't gonna be popular, but I think we have to.
But if we get to full board and it turns down, then what do we do?
Well, then we let the full board figure it out. All we can do is make our suggestion.
So,
Well, let's get the full board's view, and then we're gonna get a lot more information
Well, you,
from 17 people. If we got 12 of them that are going a different direction.
Al's gonna have to come up with one heck of a speech for full county board.
I guess it isn't 12,
And that's,
it's 9.
Well, it depends on what happens on. In November, we should have 17 members, and it is 12
yeah.
for 2/3.
Yep,
How long are you here?
today.
Today's his last day.
Yep.
So John will either have somebody appoint, I doubt if you'll have it by this county board, but you will by the November county board, have somebody
Definitely by
appointed.
November.
So it would be,
did you have any luck with phone calls? Or?
no, because it doesn't
I do
come
have a
out.
gentleman to take over. I've talked to a gentleman.
Okay.
I do have somebody, I have contacted him to let him know your office.
You make sure it's in the right district, so.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But that's, so.
I'm okay with 4 million to the board.
At this point, I'll go along with it. I am very concerned whether we can get it by it or not, but
It's actually 4.140.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Don't you think that's the way to go and
for the
not
Sharps
take
here.
any more out of the
Oh,
general
gotcha,
fund?
okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, we're-
No, it's either bond or nothing in my mind.
Okay.
That's, and I think that's where a lot of the board
Bond
members
or
are gonna
borrow,
be.
Paul, you were talking about the possibility of some other potential borrowing. Have you
I'll
looked?
talk to Brian on that
Okay,
also,
yep.
because he helped us with the state trust fund
Yep.
also.
And see what the rates are, and, you know, bonding costs some money too, where straight borrowing wouldn't. It's worth looking at.
Coming at the next board meeting, so this won't happen until November meeting.
That's when you're gonna have Brian at the November meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I got it written here someplace.
But there'll be more discussion for you, Al, at the next board meeting, which way, how much they're gonna bond for or borrow, whatever may be
For November.
for the November, but October, full board will not have this
There'll be
discussion?
nothing at October. There won't be anything about budget at the October
How
meeting.
about the exec finance meeting in October? or November.
You could have it there again, too. That'll only be a couple days before the,
I don't
The
think
county
Riley
board
has to come
meeting.
if we could do it virtual or something. You know, Brian could.
yeah, I'll find out his availability one way or the other.
Yeah.
And just so I'm clear too, so now the concern of, you know, we're talking, went from $5 to $4 million bonding. The reservation in doing that is, we're not bringing our debt load down quick enough, is that the issue?
We don't want anything to increase, we have to keep the levy at or below the current level. And we've done that by a small amount.
So do we have a clear picture, Paul do we paint a clear picture to exec finance and for the county board as to what does the, you know, if we bonded 5 million versus 4 million, what does that do to our levy as far as maintaining, going
Brings it
down,
up.
or going up?
It'll bring it up.
It would bring payments up and
It'd be nice to almost have like a little table or printout of what, you know, like per million, say, or per 500,000. What does it do if we go from 5 million to 4.5 million to 4 to 3, you know, kind of lay it out, because right now, we're all just kind of, I feel
Well,
like we're speculating.
Brian did that
Brian did
at
that
our
for the
last
five,
meeting.
for five, it was what?
5, 10, and 15.
For a
But that was for the
for a
five.
5 year, it was 40 cents more, right?
Yeah, I might have that.
thing.
10-year was 20 cents.
10-year was 20 cents.
20 cents, or 19 cents.
But definitely wouldn't go beyond 10 years.
Yeah, you don't, something like this, you don't go beyond 10.
Where it shows
2
the.
years ago, we paid off the next
And
year.
Here it is, I got the Riley report here for what it's
That'll
worth.
show kind of, oops, nope, went back.
Maybe
page.
previous.
There, yep, that
Oop.
shows how the different scenarios are.
5,
Where
10,
we
and
try to want to
Yeah.
be at
Yeah.
an even keel for.
146 for 5. 138 on 10 and 135.
on 20.
Yep,
But it's gonna cost, or do we need,
we're at a 126 right now.
Yeah.
it definitely doesn't make sense at all to go out past 10 years.
No, no.
Or did you have that same one there?
Yeah, I've got it here, yeah. Okay.
And when I looked, I don't have it in front of me, I must have left it someplace else because I can't find it, but,
It should be in your book.
Here,
yeah, it's there, and I can't
Do we
find
have
it.
some bonus?
I know what page he wants.
10-year, yeah. And so.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not the one I was looking for. I was looking at
So
one
these
with the
little
total
numbers
debt.
here, Paul,
Oh,
With two
that's
items
one- that's the
that get
mill
paid
rate.
off in 2 years, which would allow some
And like I
payment
said, we're at a
flexibility after.
126
That's
right now.
why we're not
Okay.
borrowing till after the
And
first year.
the way
so
we
Right,
have
and then the
it
same thing
structured,
next year, and then we'll get,
Justice Center
Payments
is
won't be
that
due on this, if
when we
we
start
borrow the
making
4
the big
million
payments,
after
we're
the
only
first year, they
paying
won't be
interest
due
right
until the
now.
following year when those payments
right,
come up.
yep,
So we
yep.
will stay
So
at that.
that can help.
Yeah.
Helps,
Some of
yeah.
our other
There's the,
And then
bonds
also
are
the
dropping
other
off
one with the
if
total
you're
debt.
getting
There's
to see
two
that.
more years left
One of the first
on that
pages.
one. It was a smaller amount of money. I don't remember what it was for now.
Yeah,
But that'll be
there it
cleared
shows
off
the
in
ones
2
that-
years, and
so
that
we've
will
got
give a
two
little bit
different
more
ones.
room
One
later, after 2
will be
years.
going off in the next couple of years. So then our payments for
I do
Justice
have that
Center
here.
will be
Okay,
going
yeah,
up.
I don't,
So that
yep,
keeps our
no, I don't,
you don't need it? Okay.
don't need it. It's just,
So
the
what's
first two
how did
items
the
are
four come
around
about? I mean, these debt,
the
these
payments.
structures.
Once they
There's
pull
no
off,
five.
that'll help bring it
There's
down
no
after 2
No,
years,
because
that we can
We told them the 5.
consider
Because you guys went 4.9 and then.
maybe doing this with a 5-year payback rather than a 10
So
even.
we don't have a structure for the 4.
I prefer the 5, but it
Yep,
might be a
yep.
bit much.
That might be something to have.
I will
have
talk
do.
to him
Yeah.
on that.
Or 4.5. see
We
what
can
it-
Or you're each, you know,
keep it
3.5,
down
4, and
for the next
4.5,
2,
you
and
know,
then
layout the-
that would leave a little more room for later
You
to
said 3?
maybe
No.
No,
go
you
back
said
to the
not.
5
Oh, I
later,
thought I heard
maybe.
say
You
3,
didn't hear
4,
me say
4.5.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah, no, 3.5, 4.
Oh,
4.5.
3.5, okay,
Yeah.
I did hear 3 in there. Okay.
So,
Yeah,
Three-
just to
We
kind
have
of,
74 million
4 and 4.5. I
available
can do that.
borrowing
Yeah.
capacity, which
could be
is
helpful.
pretty strong figure.
but we're at 54% right now.
Yeah. And to me, once we get over 50%, it's level of a concern.
yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say.
And the auditor did say at the exit conference at the county board meeting that she didn't have any other county that was this high in debt
Right, yep.
on percentage.
I
We're the
understand.
highest?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I understand, we
said-
added
no,
the
that's
Justice
you.
Center.
Okay.
Yep.
So that took a big chunk of our debt. And,
Half of
but,
it.
huh?
Over half.
Over half of
Yep,
our.
right, yep.
Two-thirds of it.
Of our debt. So the concern is how far do we want to get?
Well,
Same way, the same way the healthcare center should soon be getting to a tipping point where more principal is getting paid off.
They
Each
actually
year.
paid one of theirs off this year. We
Yep.
did a resolution back
Couple months ago.
3 months
Yep.
ago or something like that.
Yep.
And they early paid.
Yep.
And some of these we could early pay also. I think there's one that's callable already.
Okay, yep.
So, but then what you do is you use general fund to pay it off.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're
Should
paying it
save a
off, you
year's
use
worth
general
of
fund,
interest
right?
is all you save, but
What kind of penalty is there for early pay? You gotta wait till the call before?
you gotta wait till it's callable. Yep. And I've been giving you those sheets that Ellers gives us that says if they're callable or if there could be some cost savings if you refinanced them and that. So we should be getting another one of those pretty soon here. I think we get one every month or every 2 months, something like that.
Dick, did you actually make it a motion? Did we go that far? Or
Oh,
did
did
we?
we?
No, I didn't, we had no motion on
Okay.
the table.
Just advisory, huh?
Advisory, okay.
Do, I don't know if we need one or per se.
General fund to balance the budget.
Okay.
Let's go to the board and see what happens, huh?
Without a recommendation? Is that what
No,
you're
no,
saying?
no, I think we should have the
Oh,
recommendation.
I should recommend that instead of just going,
40,000.
So we're gonna have a motion,
yeah, I guess you're right.
Motion.
Otherwise, you really have a mess.
yeah. So you're making a motion?
I will make a motion to borrow
Motion to-
$4,140,000.
To bond for the
For
highway
bond.
department and for the
Bond or borrow.
bond or borrow
For highway
for
and.
highway and the sheriff's department.
Sheriff's Department, yes. It's-
I'll second it with the caveat, don't plan for any more than that, maybe less next year. I don't know where it's going yet.
We'll see how this year goes for you guys.
And in November, when you bring the budget to the county board can change that number
Right,
too.
yep.
Mhm. Yep. All right, this will be a voice vote. All those in favor signify by signifying by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Me?
Okay, so that means,
So it'll be 3 yeses, 1 nay. That's, any more discussion?
where's Bridge?
None? All right, I guess the motion carries. Prepare my speech.
Right overruled.
Yeah.
Is that the key?
Yeah.
It's got- And you'll find out if it's the right kind.
Right. Yep.
We can't tell you that part.
Any more discussion on the budget? None? Paul?
Pretty nice to see that we're to this point.
Yeah.
Well, we got rid of
750.
close to 3 million.
6,000 from the municipalities, so I got 3 million.
Okay, we got that resolution.
Yep, we'll move on to the resolution then.
Thanks for
Yep.
coming back again.
Move on to item 15, resolution of suspension county board rule 1, parentheses 3, regarding the November 2022 annual meeting
Should I start?
date.
I'll start, and
Yep.
the reason for this is that by state statute and by county board rule, the November annual meeting for county board is the first Tuesday after the second Monday. That's putting it at November 15th. And November 15th is the deadline for me to have the apportionment done, which means you have to have the budget adopted before I can do apportionment, and that's gonna be very difficult all in one day. So, Rick has got a resolution, you all have a copy of it. about. I was gonna have
Suspend
you
the
go-
rule.
Suspending
wanna
the
read it?
rule.
The state statute does allow for the board to set a different date for the annual meeting. And so in order to accomplish that for this year only, we would just need to have the board ultimately suspend Rule 23, I think it is, which is the annual meeting on the first Tuesday after the second Monday. And then the board can establish any other date for the annual meeting in either October or November. So that's essentially what this resolution is doing. Again, just for this year. Going forward, if the board wants to do something different, that's a different scenario to be taken up, but that's just for this year.
Have you come up with a date? Do you actually have it yet?
No, but there was a brief discussion at the last county board meeting, and was it November 11th?
Well, on Wednesday, wasn't it?
I think
You can't
so.
have it on 11th because that's Veterans Day.
Veterans Day.
That's another
That's
one
right.
that's in the statutes.
That's right. But there was a discussion at the last board meeting as to a date, but it was decided to bring it to the full board and let them decide kind of what date they wanted to choose from, so.
Well, what's
We
the
need a
Wednesday? Or is that
resolution
the
to
11th?
suspend it.
Correct,
No,
yes,
the-
yep.
the
Just to make it
9th
clean, it
is
has to be
the
a two-thirds
Wednesday.
vote
Yep.
at the
The
full
one-
board meeting, so. And you can add the date at that full board meeting, in my opinion, so if you wanted to leave it blank, or if you want to propose a date, we can fill that in now, and then they can change it at the board meeting, however you would like to proceed.
So what's the date you come up with, Paul?
I didn't come up with one, but Doc just was talking about the very next day, the 9th,
It must have been the 9th, yeah.
It was the 9th.
Was it?
Wednesday the
Okay.
9th.
the day after the election,
Okay.
because we wanted to stay away from that one, too.
Uh-oh.
Look at Sam.
That's right.
Oh, that's when everybody brings in their election stuff,
On the 9th?
on the 9th.
And they'll be bringing their machines.
Are they bringing them in that date?
No,
No,
they
they didn't
just-
say anything about
They
maintenance.
don't bring the machines until,
Well, then the 10th.
no.
We're running out of days.
Right.
The
Mhm.
10th would be okay.
I'll move 40
Thursday?
cameras to the following.
What?
I'll move 40 cameras to the following.
I wasn't planning on till the next week anyway. So that works out.
So the suggestion.
So
to the-
Thursday the 10th, you're talking now?
Thursday the
Good.
10th
Good day.
is the suggestion.
Technically, I got the good one, or you got the good one?
Um,
Because I'm gonna write on this one.
Yeah, nope, I have the same one that you have, so go ahead.
Does it have to be a day meeting?
You can suspend the rules, because the statute allows for you to pick any date.
I'm in favor of that, but I don't know if we're gonna have some of the
Sure.
working ones that are gonna say,
No, usually, it's usually
10 o'clock in the morning.
10
Yeah.
o'clock and it don't get over till 2, basically. So if you're having an
It's
evening
too,
meeting,
too long that night.
you could be a long meeting at night.
That's 2 o'clock if there's no
No.
big
controversy.
big
We've
issues to
usually gone
resolve.
till 3, 3:30.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the
we've seen-
latest we've ever had.
Yeah.
That's taking a break at noon.
We better stick with the 10 o'clock. People just, you're part of this board, you have to
Mhm.
make it a day of exception, I guess.
All right.
Riley, you're okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
So we're at the Thursday,
You don't care if it takes 8
is
hours.
is that the day we're talking about?
The 10th?
I believe is what's being suggested right now.
Yes.
I think it's better if we put a number in there to start with. Otherwise, it'll be
Yeah.
17 different dates
I like
to start with.
Thursday the 10th, if that's working for Paul, mostly for Sam, I really don't care.
I think we all knew that there was
For
gonna be a
Sam,
November
it's-
day meeting.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
When
me
you
that
signed
has
up
to
for the
do
board even, I
enforcement.
guess.
Okay. So, do I have a motion on the table for accepting the resolution?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Larson to accept the resolution to suspend the annual meeting so we can adjust and accommodate for the times that we need.
With the November 10th
With the
suggestion
November,
date.
with the November 10th suggestion.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr.
Nobody else
Seisha
has.
At 10 a.m.
at 10 a.m. Okay. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. All right. Set the date and time for the next meeting, which would be
I left my
the
calendar.
7th, I believe.
7th, it looks like.
November 7th. 8:30 still work for you, gentlemen?
See ya, thanks.
Thank you, Rick.
8:30 again?
If that works for you, gentlemen.
It's fine with me.
Yep.
Okay, so it'll be,
The earlier the better for Dave, was what he said, so that.
Yeah,
well,
and he should be done with his
You'll
schooling.
be-
by
we'll be done with schooling by then, and
And, I don't know, can we discuss getting a new board member here, or should it come, can we do that can we get a new board member for this committee at the November meeting? Oh,
You'll-
we haven't heard your resignation yet. Would you like to read that here?
not really. I don't want to read it per se.
Oh.
Did you, oh, I didn't hear, you didn't read it, did you?
I have not read it.
You haven't given it to the sheriff
I haven't
yet?
given it to the sheriff either.
Wait till afterwards? Yeah.
I would. Because then the sheriff will bring it to county board, and that's when you would accept it.
Okay, so.
Well, the sheriff brings
The
Yeah, so I
sheriff
gotta
is
go
the
walk
one that
up to the
gets
sheriff's office.
the notice that you resign.
I guess that's how I ended up here. Sheriff.
Be careful when you walk in there, because sometimes he can throw you right into this. Who's call?
Well, if it happens, it happens, you know. All right, so next month's meeting will be November 7th at 8:30. Any other discussions? All right, we're gonna adjourn the meeting.
This
at
resolution will come to
10:15.
county board on this time.
Yeah, it has to.
It does, so